get the meaning of my verse. You don't have to die and go to hell or feel the devil's curse. And I'll stand before your altar and tell everything I know. I've come to claim my childhood at the chapel of Baby Road.
Thanks, folks, for staying up later. Our guest tonight, and we're happy to say so, is Joan Baez, and this is Joan's new CD. Delayed but sincere applause for Joan Baez, whose new record is Play Me Backwards. There are social messages, both direct and implied, in many of these songs, but it's not overtly political like some of your past work.
Exactly. This CD is a sort of culmination of 5 years of realizing that I had to get my career back, if not really on track, at least where it was comfortable, where I felt as though I'd refreshed the music and had done something creatively. So it was a concerted effort attacking things in a way that I really had never done before. The most important thing was the co-writing, because I had never co-written, and my songwriting is sometimes okay and sometimes pretty average, and the obvious thing to do to supplement it and make it better was to work with other people. So this was my first attempt at that.
Obviously, you've been able to reach a lot of people through the years, both with the beauty of your voice and with the messages in your songs. But has the social activism and using the music as a vehicle for that, do you think that in any way has retarded your musical development?
Yes. I mean, I just was so wrapped up in the causes, and they were there, and my interest in social change and nonviolence came before I could even verbalize it, before I sang. So it has been a stronger pull, and I think part of this now, working towards this album, was realizing that these vocal cords are a major, major gift, and that I wasn't doing them the proper credit at this time in my life, that it was time to update everything for this gift, because it will run out before other things in my life run out.
Your coming out party, I guess, was the Newport Folk Festival in 1959.
Yes, it was.
What was it like?
Thrilling and terrifying. Odetta was my heroine. Pete Seeger was rapidly becoming my folk hero, and Bob Gibson was a Chicago folk singer. He invited me up on stage during the Newport Festival, and it was the largest audience that I'd ever seen in the history of the world, 13,000 people, which now is nothing, of course, and that was my introduction.
Did you have a notion at that time of using your music as a vehicle, as a means to an end, or was it just an expression of a sensibility that was yours and then it took you there? Number two of the above. I had no plans, no designs, no desire to be a singer or anything. My idea of the future was Wednesday. Maybe the one that had just happened, or maybe the week coming, but I had no plans. On the other hand, when the political interests began to take form and I'd be able to do something with them, which really kind of started around Martin Luther King's actions, when I saw people were doing these things together and I wanted to be a part of that, then I had a sense of direction. But always more a sense of direction politically, socially, than I had musically. Of course, the people you fell in with, Seeger and then later Dylan, obviously nudged you in that direction, if not pulled you in that direction. They were a part of the transition between folk songs, which were, something that came down through the years. It didn't really, to me, have a great deal to do with protesting the current situation in those days. That was the bridge, the songs that Dylan wrote, and the songs that I heard Pete Seeger and the Weavers and those people singing. How many times must a man look up before he can see the sky? How many ears must one person have before he can hear people cry? And how many
the wind.
Yeah, doing Dylan's songs gave you a contemporary edge and probably allowed you to reach an audience. There's a feeling that's kind of implicit, I guess, in a song like Kumbaya, or even, We Shall Overcome was an older song applied to what then was a current situation. But Dylan's stuff had been written right then and now and appealed to younger people.
And that phenomenon, at least to me, was new. I wasn't a songwriter. I never thought about it, never considered myself a songwriter, and here was this person who almost began that as a phenomenon. Now there are singer-songwriters. There are young women singer-songwriters, and it's almost essential to be that in the industry now, because you have to turn out new songs. It was one of the changes that took place.
Was it frustrating to you? I mean, eventually you wrote some memorable material around the time of Diamonds and Rust in the mid-'70s, but was it frustrating to you at all not to be able to put down consistently your original thoughts? Obviously, many of the songs you sang were classics. I mean, you sang Dylan's stuff, you sing Blowing in the Wind, or The Times They Are A-Changin', or Simple Twist of
Fate. It wasn't frustrating in the time that we had so much of that amazing material coming out. I mean, there was a lot of it. There was Phil Oakes, and there was Donovan wrote a certain kind of thing like that. The Rolling Stones, the Beatles. It was pouring out of everybody. And since I hadn't begun writing and didn't know how frustrating and difficult it could be, it wasn't a problem. And then when I did start writing, it took me many, many years, and 2 or 3 very good songs, and mostly average, to realize that in order to do very good material, I had to work with people who could supply the genius where mine was lacking.
Diamonds and Rust is your composition, though, right?
It's probably the best song I ever wrote.
As I remember, your eyes were bluer than robin's eggs. My poetry was lousy, you said. Where were you calling from? A booth in the Midwest. 30 years ago I bought you some cufflinks, and you brought me something, and we both know what memories can bring. They bring diamonds and rust.
It's a real good song. And not just a popular song, and they're not always the same thing. It happens to be one of your best songs and also one of your most popular songs. Another one, I guess, that was your biggest seller, though, was written by Robbie Robertson of the band, The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down. Is that your biggest seller?
I think so. I think, it's funny, from country to country. In some countries, and I just check before I go out on the stage, oh, by the way, was Dixie a hit here? And if they say, huh? Then I know they never even heard it. And if they say, oh yeah, then for some reason, like in Hungary, Dixie was turned into a protest song. And so, and in France, it was, all the words came out in French, and they made it a story about a drug addict. But they knew that chorus, so there's something very, very catchy about the Dixie chorus. So in most of the countries it is known,
Contrast for me the feeling when you walked out on stage at Woodstock, 6 months pregnant, by the way, and when you walked out for Live Aid almost 20 years later. I mean, in '69, you were you knew when you walked out there, you were talking essentially to your audience.
Yes.
In '85, maybe you weren't so sure.
I knew I was not. I mean, I knew my audience would be sprinkled around there because we were singing to 2 billion people or something like that.
The law of averages then takes in everybody.
I had a chance, But at Newport, at Woodstock, there were other variables, as in, you may be all cranked up and all your endorphins going and full of stage fright, and then there's a thunderstorm, and everything changes. Your endorphins can't roll that long. So as I remember, I didn't have a whole lot of stage fright, and I went out at 2:30 in the morning and sang to a city in the middle of the night, and I had my little messages and etc. At Live Aid, I was smart enough to know that the 6 minutes that I'd been allotted was exactly how much I could fill and relate to kids who really didn't know me. they knew me as some kind of symbol. Their parents had my albums. I had something to do with civil rights and human rights. And so I tried to take that 6 minutes and be the link between human rights and some kind of social political awareness and a rock and roll show.
It seems to me that there's a potential dilemma for somebody in your position, well-known, certified if you never do another thing as having an important niche in the musical history of your generation, but still anxious to perform and keep doing good work.